I, 28F, am being blackmailed by a friend, 31M, over secret recordings he made of me. I, 28F, recently had a falling out with a friend, 31M. We have been casual friends for several years and run in the same circles, so we have a lot of mutuals together. We started hanging out one-on-one last year when I bought a townhome in the neighborhood next to his. I cut ties with him for many reasons, but the final straw was I discovered he was secretly recording me whenever we hung out. I was extremely disturbed by it. I sent him a long text letting him know I no longer wanted to be friends and listed several reasons, but I emphasized the non-consensual recording as my top one. In response, my friend begged to have one last conversation to bring some closure to our friendship. I felt scummy for trying to end a friendship over text. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop. I also decided to secretly record our meeting. I recognized it was kind of hypocritical of me, but I knew my friend had manipulative tendencies and I was a little bit afraid for me. During our talk, my friend claimed he was seeing a therapist who encouraged him to record his conversations so they could review them and work on his interpersonal skills. I said he should do what he needs to do, but I didn't consent to being recorded and I was not okay with being part of this. He responds by pulling out a huge stack of papers. He had printed out all the text conversations we've had. He started reading out random passages and asking me to clarify my responses. Some of these conversations were months old and he asked me questions with zero context like, "What did you really mean when you said, 'Lol, your dog could cut a B?'" I just became really flustered. I had no idea what was going on and he kept interrupting me. Eventually I managed to convey that we were going nowhere with this. I didn't want to be friends anymore. If we ran into each other at hangouts with mutuals, I was fine with that, but he will not be welcome in my home in the future. I have re-listened to the recording and I hate how I sound when I said this. My voice is completely hysterical. He said he understood we needed a break from each other and I can reach out to be friends again when I was ready. He said he was sorry I felt the way I did. He has control over the rest of my life, but he has no control over my feelings. When I got up to leave, he pulls out his tape recorder, the one I found running while he was visiting my home. He said he didn't record our conversation today, he brought it but it's off. He then made a comment that sounded strongly like a threat. "Watch, we could go viral together on TikTok." As I was driving home, I started getting calls and texts from friends asking what the fuck was going on. Apparently he had immediately called all of our friends and put me on blast, saying I had been the one secretly recording him and making threats against his life, and he cut ties with me because he no longer felt safe hanging out with me. 2 days later my brother calls me, concerned. My friend had dialed him and left a message saying I was threatening to kill people. My friend has never met my brother and I don't know how he got his number. This makes me really nervous because I work in a public-facing role where my workplace contact info and my business relationships are readily documented. I'm just really nervous about my friend's threats about sending recordings of me to people? Or posting them online? I'm not ashamed of who I am, but I don't remember what I say in private. We had a completely platonic relationship and the only circumspect thing I remember doing is smoking weed together. It just feels incredibly violating. I checked and I live in a one-party consent state for recordings. I've never experienced something like this, so any advice would be appreciated. This dude is a fucking nutcase. Tell your friends the truth and get a lawyer that can threaten this guy with legal action. Maybe even get a restraining order if possible because he sounds genuinely unhinged. Damn. I think I'd be looking for a lawyer. They're going to be the one who is going to be able to give you the best advice based on the rules in your state. Get a lawyer and contact the police. Police first. Second, share your recording from your coffee shop meeting, in person, with context, with the friends that you're bothered about. And obviously, I'd stay the fuck away from that nutcase. Girl, that there is what we call a stalker. He is unhinged to say the least. Police, lawyer, family and friends, in that order. Protect yourself and never be alone with this manic again. My husband, 26M, said to me, 21F, other women don't gain weight like that when they have a baby. Trying to give as much context as I can so that everything is clear. I, 21F, have been with my husband, 26M, for over 3 years. The child I was pregnant with in this story is our only child and we have no other children. When I was 8 months pregnant, my husband made a comment about my weight and how when I have the baby he wants us to focus on getting back in shape. Fair enough. I was very motivated to get back in the gym as soon as possible because I had gained about 65 pounds during pregnancy. About 3/4 of a week postpartum, he makes a comment that we need to get in the gym and that I don't need to let myself go. This upset me deeply because he hadn't said one nice or positive thing about my birth experience, and still hasn't to this day. Just negative things about how I looked. Keep in mind that I wasn't cleared to exercise until 6 weeks postpartum. He said something hurtful about 2 months after I gave birth, and when I told him it hurt my feelings, he said he was mostly joking and that he shouldn't have to change the things he says to keep from hurting my feelings. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Unless something is necessary or someone asked you for your opinion on their looks, it is never okay to say something hurtful in my opinion. Lastly, yesterday I wanted to have a conversation with him about some things that had been bothering me. I touched on a few topics without going into depth because I know he doesn't like to have these conversations, understandably. I told him that his comments about my appearance were the hardest thing for me to deal with since we've been married because my weight and appearance was never something I was insecure about. I wasn't insecure about it now, either, until he brought it up multiple times. I told him that it was hard for me to feel like he didn't think I was attractive, especially since my physical changes were due to having given birth to our child. Among some very nasty things he said to me, the last comment he made was, "Other women don't gain weight like that when they have a baby." The last thing I want to mention is that I have lost about 35 kg since giving birth. My husband, over the course of our relationship, has gained about 25 pounds. This hasn't bothered me, and still doesn't. It is not important to me, because we are both still healthy people. But it hurts me that he has put so much emphasis on my weight among other things. What should I do? It is eating me up. And he doesn't think he said anything wrong. Too long did not read. 4 months after giving birth and losing 35 pounds after, my husband continues to make comments about my appearance and most recently said, "Other women don't gain weight like that when they have a baby." Full offense, your husband is a moron. You husband is a fucking prick. You created human life, fuck this man. Do not put up with this bullshit, he's a bully and an asshole. You deserve so much better and think of the example your child is going to grow up with. Other husbands aren't totally a-holes like that when they have a wife unamused. Your husband is a douche. My wife gained weight with our firstborn, I don't give a single fuck. I love every millimeter of that woman's body and I could literally never have enough of it. Tell him to give birth to your next child. That way you won't gain any weight and he can be the one controlling the baby weight. The fucking audacity of this man and the bull that some of y'all put up with. My, F23, mum, F46, brought up my friends, F23, weight gain, so I brought up hers and she blew up. So my mum has gained weight in the last few years, she's all my life brought up if she had noticed if someone had gained weight or not etc. Which I think is just a bit boring in itself. Fair enough, she just said it to me, but it's not what a young girl wants to hear. That people can notice weight gain and care so much. Anyway, she has gained weight due to having chronic fatigue. She had seen my friend who gained weight yesterday, who she hasn't seen in a while. I noticed she gained weight too but never said anything because I don't even care, to be honest. My mum just brought it up, the fact she gained weight, and was saying all of her facial features has gone and she will have to be careful etc. I then said, "You do realize people were probably saying this about you when you gained weight?" And she started to get annoyed with me. Could hear her saying to my dad that I'm fuming with her and all this. I went and said I'm not fuming, she just always brings up weight, so I was proving a point, and that's when she hit the roof screaming and me saying I say something about what she says every day, making out as though I bully her every day. She kept screaming this over and over. I am the one to hold my tongue, but I've noticed if I point out what her character is like, rarely, she hits the roof and tries to play victim, acting like I bully her every day, which is far from the truth. Last time a few months ago I was sick of her not listening to me when I listened to all of her problems all the time, and she said the same thing, that I always point out her flaws. It's like she uses it to get out of the conversation and come off as right. What are people's opinions of what's happening here? It's sadly a common thing that you're describing. Your mom is so used to talking about people behind their back and now you've called her on it, she's defensive. Great book. Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by Lindsay Gibson. Will probably be a very validating read for you. It was a weird day when I realized that no one had ever called my mom on her poor behavior to others, so she just kept being unpleasant. You may be the first person in decades to call your mom on her nastiness. And hey, you have the right to protect your friend's feelings. With my mom, I started just identifying her behaviors. She'd say something awful about my friend, not to their face, she was backstabby, and I'd look her in the eye and say, "That was unkind and you know better." And she'd shut up. I just kept doing that, and since I didn't give her encouragement, and didn't give her a rude remark in return so she could blow up about it, she stopped saying crap like that around me. My mom would always talk about my best friend's family, how they were all overweight. I didn't realize how messed up that was until I was much older. It made me feel bad to hear. Kids shouldn't have to listen to body shaming, it teaches us to body shame ourselves. Your mom is just projecting. Just like your mom, mine is now what she, herself, would dub as, fat. How the turntables. I don't view her that way, but karmically I just find it interesting. Your mom is a narcissist. You will always be in the wrong, and she will always be the victim. She can say and do what she wants, but if you call her out on it, and point out she is the same, then you get the blame for her bad actions. Look up narcissist and see how much of it explains your mom's behaviors. It can be very eye-opening for you. I'm 33F. Upset that my husband, 31M, got plastic surgery without telling me. I just found out today that my husband got some cool sculpting done a few months ago and never told me about it. I found out because we were having a casual conversation about something I wanted to have done in the future, and he accidentally let it slip that he did this a few months ago and then looked completely uncomfortable. It was obvious he didn't mean to say anything and had just gotten caught up in the moment. I don't have an issue with any forms of plastic surgery, but what I do have a problem with is that he omitted telling me about it. My husband is a FT student, so I have to pay all of our bills. I'm upset that he felt it was okay to spend $4,000 on a cosmetic procedure but can't contribute to our household bills every month. Aside from that, what is really scary is that he was able to conceal all the appointments from me and time away to get this done. I honestly had no idea. I need an objective opinion on this. Am I validated to feel upset that my husband lied by omission about this? He spent thousands without talking to you about it, had plastic surgery behind your back, and can't reasonably explain why the stash of condoms has several missing. All while you support him financially. Honey. So he is hiding money from you if he had money to pay for this procedure. You are being used. One lie will lead to a bigger lie. The minute he graduates and has a job he will be out. Definitely have a right to be angry. He's not helping with bills but can drop $4,000 on something cosmetic and not necessary. Are you paying for his school too? Because if so, time to revisit that and make him start helping with at least a few of the bills since he's apparently got money to spend. What did he have done that was so inconsequential you didn't even notice? For $4,000? What? The condoms were missing and now he spent $4,000 like it's nothing? Girl, is there anything else you are waiting to happen for you to open your eyes? It seems like you are not paying attention to reality. Wake up, you know what you should do.